Hi, and thanks for joining me for another episode of Here's What I'm Watching. Tonight, what I will be talking about is what I was watching earlier today for almost 3 hours, and that is the new Christopher Nolan movie, Interstellar, which, as you can imagine, is about people spending time in space, in the universe. And for that matter, the movie is somewhat original and interesting. For Christopher Nolan is a great director to come up with original, fantastic stories. However, I just want to say that the easiest way to sum up this movie is that it's sort of like Inception 2. If you saw and enjoyed Christopher Nolan's movie Inception, which is a movie about people being having the ability to go into dreams and to make things happen within those dreams, which was a great idea for a movie. And there was some fantastic visual effects that were used in the movie that were super fun to watch. But the actual concreteness of the story, of course, is not really there because we're working with something that who can prove what really goes on when you have the ability to go into someone's dreams and to change those dreams. Sort of along the same lines with this movie, we're using things like the wormholes and the black holes that are found in space that we don't know a great deal about how those work exactly and what were to happen if we were able to go into those things and actually exist in those parts of space. And I don't think I'm giving away anything as far as the actual story goes to let you know that this is Christopher Nolan's idea of what exploring wormholes and black holes would actually be like. But the part about the movie that made it a little hard for me is when Christopher Nolan backs up the need for the characters to go into space with a reality that's happening here on Earth. And here is what the idea of the story is that we're no longer have the ability to grow food on Earth. Crop by crop is eliminated with blight, and we're having fewer and fewer food sources to fall back on. Now, here's the problem. They are creating that reality in what looks like a very real place. In fact, it looks like it could be anywhere in the Midwest. At the same time, it's April, and they use the word April. Kids are still in school, yet the corn is as tall as it is before you start to harvest it. Not harvesting corn, it's green. So we have corn that must have been planted in January, February, and now is tall enough to actually, well, or even before that, come to think of it, probably closer to like December. And now it's tall. And here's another problem that we have with this. And I'm not giving away elements of the story that will ruin any great surprises for you. In fact, I think this is like even part of the trailer. They show green cornfields burning. I have a hard time with that. I could see if there were an inferno that it would maybe the heat of the inferno would ignite the green corn, but I really don't think that you can just go out and just set a green corn stalk ablaze and then have the entire. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, someone can let me know, and that'd be great. But that makes it really hard for me to deal with the movie when something like that is going on, which is there's also these dust storms. Okay, yeah, we that's very realistic. I mean, it's very believable to think that we could over farm, overgraze, and get to the point where we are once again experiencing dust storms. However, you never see a pivot. So this corn is able to grow pretty strong and healthy and be very nice and green, but we don't see any pivots. And okay, maybe it was ground irrigation. Maybe they weren't the kind of pivots where you actually like it just I just was having a hard time with that. And I understand that Christopher Nolan put some money into the research of the science part of the movie and that he wanted to make sure that he wasn't talking about something in physics that can't be backed up. And that's great. That is all. I really applaud that. But I just have to say that they could have easily have made some adjustments in the storytelling along with the reality of what was going on Earth, and it wouldn't have been quite so distracting. The movie is long and it feels long. Now here's what I will say: they do get into the space part of the movie pretty early, and that's great. I applaud that. But overall, the movie is long, and I could have. I could have used with a little less of the movie. There's a couple other scenes towards the very end where the story explaining some relationship things with characters that it gets a little like, yeah, I don't know. So that's Interstellar. I believe that Interstellar will have an opportunity to be nominated for some Oscars along the ways of sound and special effects. Back to the sound. This is not a score that I think anyone would be interested in playing for their own enjoyment at home unless you love exciting organ music. And somebody could say, oh, Lexanne, it wasn't really an organ. Well, it sounded pretty much like an organ to me. And it was, of course, very loud because we were supposed to know that very dramatic things were happening. And the only way you would know that would be if there was very loud organ music going on. So, there was that. Actually, one of the very, very best parts of the movie was a part of the movie where there's no sound at all because, as you know, in space, no sound. So that was kind of an interesting moment, but I won't tell you more about it because I don't want to give it away. Actually, when it comes to a space movie, one that I enjoyed overall a lot better or a lot more was Gravity with Sandra Bullock. And I'm so glad that I saw Gravity in a theater. I think that watching it on a smaller screen at home takes away some of the excitement. Gravity to me was a lot of fun. It was like a carnival ride. It was, and I think Gravity would have been one of the very few movies that I would have even enjoyed it more in 3D. So I missed out on that, and I kind of regret that. If you have an interest in an exciting space movie, I highly recommend Gravity before Interstellar. And if you have an interest in a Christopher Nolan movie that is a little, kooky and made up imaginary stuff going on, Inception I thought was very, very good. Again, sometimes Inception was a little long. I thought the last two Batman movies that Christopher Nolan did were a little long. I could have easily, even the one with the Joker, which of course was excellent, but I still thought it ran a little long. And so that's just a Christopher Nolan thing. He's just going to have his movies go a little too long. So that's really all that I have to say about that's what I'm watching as far as at the movie theater. At home, I was very excited to see that the movie The Burbs, yes, Tom Hanks from way back in whatever, 1990, 89, 90, something like that. That Tom Hanks movie is now available on Netflix, and I have to admit that movie it makes me laugh. I really enjoy that movie. There's one other movie that is on Netflix that I heard a lot of good reviews over the course of the summer when it was in some select theaters, and that was Snowpiercer, which is again a fantasy in the future movie. Yeah, it was okay. It's really kooky, very, very violent. The whole idea of the movie is that there is a very distinct classes, and the whole point of the movie is there's a revolt by a lower class. So it's extremely violent. Not a lot of swearing though, but I think that it was probably R-rated because of all the violence, and it was okay. It was kind of interesting, different. It was different, but it wasn't something I was didn't think was all that great. So that's what I've been watching. Thanks for you watching. Hope I have something new to talk about soon.